Hello everyone and welcome. Can everyone working? Perfect. Okay. Hello everyone and welcome. I'm excited that you're able to join us today. We hope you're all set up. Maybe you've brought some snacks, cup of tea, glass of wine as we start our venture into the Mediterranean. What can you expect from our ancient event today? We're going to go give you a short intro into what we're all about. And then I'll welcome three of my colleagues who will transport you to three fantastic destinations. They'll talk about their experiences as well as giving some key practical info on what to expect. We'll finish with some time to answer questions and let you know about an exciting offer as well as a prize draw. Before we get started, a few tips to make sure that everything runs as smoothly as possible. Everyone is automatically on mute, but we would love you to make use of the chat and the Q&A features. On the chat, it would be great to let us know where you're viewing from, if you've been on an Explore adventure before, and your top trip spot to visit in Europe. We'd love to hear that also. But if you have any questions that you would like us to answer, please use the Q&A function. We have a team of experts who will be answering the questions as we go. We'll also keep some of them to us to be answered during the live Q&A at the end. If you miss anything or need to duck out, no worries at all. We're recording this event and we'll be sharing the recording via email, as well as our most frequently asked questions. And you'll receive that email later at the end of this week. Perfect. So before we get started properly, some of you might not know Explore, some of you might. We run over 350 small group adventures to more than 100 countries worldwide. We have classic discovery trips, walking, cycling, and family tours, all with small groups averaging at about 11, expert tour leavers, and unforgettable experiences. We also offer polar voyages. So, why choose Explore for your next adventure? We've recently received a Platinum Trusted Service Award from FIFO because our customer reviews are over 4.5 out of 5. We've also recently become a certified B Corp, two things we're super proud of. Our trips, you'll see a mix of famous sites, hidden gems, and things that other people might miss. As travellers, as you all know, we love to experience a country, not just simply observe it. So we'll take you close to the country, its culture, its people, often in unscripted, spontaneous, impossible to do again ways. Our fabulous tour leaders will also use their expert insider knowledge and local connections to make the most of the unexpected opportunities. You might be invited to watch a sunrise from a lighthouse or join a family Diwali celebration. They'll be on hand to make sure that your trip goes smoothly, taking care of all the logistics. Our average group size is just 11, so big enough to meet like-minded people on this call, but small enough to get to the heart of the destination. And last but not least, sustainability is at the heart of what we do, and we only partner with people who have that same value. So, our trips focus on giving you the best possible experience from whichever destination you visit. This includes our accommodation, which is usually around the 3-star range, and wherever possible, locally owned. Currently, we have a brand new range of tours that have just come out. This product line is called Explore Upgraded. It's perfect for people who are looking for that little bit of extra comfort after adventuring, as well as some additional inclusions to your itinerary. Of the 3 destinations we're visiting today, Turkey is a country that is part of our upgraded range. So, my favourite part. I'm delighted I'll be joined by 3 of my fabulous team today, Manon, Claire, and James. They'll be presenting and they'll be answering your questions as we go along. At today's event, we'll be looking at some of our favourite destinations in Europe, and I'm personally super excited about these 3 in particular, so great event to be part of. So we've got our hidden gem, Albania, Croatia with its unique coastline that's great for cycling, and Turkey with its incredible history and sites. These presenters will be covering the cultural, foodie, and natural highlights of the tours, and we'll also talk about their personal tips and favourite moments. First up, I'd like you to introduce you to Manon, who will talk to you about our highlights of Albania tour. Over to you, Manon.
Hi everyone. So I'm Manon. I'm one of the product manager from Explore. So last year I was lucky enough to go to our highlights of Albania tour, and I just would like to take you through my journey to Albania and why I actually fell in love with it. It is now one of my favorite country in Europe, and I actually go back every year. I took all my friends there because I loved it so much, and then we go there once a year. So yeah, it's really an amazing country. So first of all, just would like to help you locate Albania because you might have heard of it, but it's not so easy to know exactly where it is. So with the map you can see, so basically Albania is located, you've got Greece down north, you've got Montenegro up south, and then it's next to North Macedonia and Kosovo. So that's really on the Balkan Peninsula, so a bit more up north. You also have Croatia, so Croatia, Montenegro, and then Albania. So what's amazing about Albania? I mean, it really didn't get the whole like development of the mass tourism like Greece or other countries. So it's been underdeveloped, a bit like a secret destination for many years, but it actually have all the future of like Greece of other destinations. So you have the mountains, you have the blue turquoise water, you've got the culture, you've got the Albanian Alps up north. So it's actually a very varied country, and it's really breathtaking. So a tour, it's an 11-day tour, and it's a cultural tour in Albania. So you basically would start in Tirana, the capital of Albania. Tirana, it's an amazing city. It's so vibrant. You've got so many bars and museum and live outside. You've got the big central square. There's always some events happening there. It's really, yeah, an amazing city, really vibrant. In Albania, you also have loads of history. So basically, it's one of the countries so was under communism, and it only get out of communism in 1991. So it's quite still recent. So when you go there, the communism is still like very present. So on this tour, for example, we go visit the bunkert. So there's a few, you're going to see bunkers everywhere around Albania. And some of the bunkers, what they decided to do is turn them into art gallery and keeping the history also. So we're going to visit some bunk art there, and it's actually a very good introduction to learn about the whole communism history in Albania. So that's where we start our trip. And then we start driving and we start exploring the country. And we drive all the way to Pogradec in Lake Ohrid, which is one of the oldest lake in the world. And it's actually, so it goes to North Macedonia, but we go to the Albanian side and it's just beautiful. Then we continue to the mountain in Kosa when we spend the night. Then we drive through the mountains and the Vjosa River to Gjirokastra, which is actually a UNESCO heritage city. And it's really beautiful. You've got very traditional Ottoman stone houses, and yeah, it's really beautiful city. Then after that, we go to Saranda. So we drive to the coast where we visit some archaeological sites. And then we go to the Yoga National Park, which is very different type of landscape in the forest. Then we continue up the coast, and then we finish our trip in Kruja, in a very nice hotel, another very beautiful city. And you fly back from Tirana. So that's basically the trip in a nutshell. But I just wanted to take you through some of my favorite experiences from the trip. And I also wanted to talk to you about my group. So this was my group. I'm actually hidden at the back, so you can't really see me. But it was really an amazing group. What I love about the group is it was a very mixed group. So we have people from Scotland, from England, from Canada. Unfortunately, we didn't have any Australian, but I hope we're going to see more and more Australian coming to Albania. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. And then our guides in Albania are just amazing because all Albanians are passionate about their country and you can really feel it. So our guide was Denis. So basically Denis' family history is quite interesting because his dad has been a guide for Explore for more than 20 years, and he was one of the first guide in Albania. He was actually one of the only person allowed to guide during the communist time. And then Denis is now one of our guide, and now his little brother, Teddy, started to guide for us as well. So the whole family is basically Explore, part of our Explore family as well. So some of the experiences that are my highlights for the trip. So this is a picture of the beautiful Lake Ohrid. As I mentioned, it's one of the oldest lake, and it's just so ancient, and you've got such there's a bit of a mystery about it. It's very, very beautiful. So we get there, we go to a very nice restaurant and we eat by the lake, and we actually eat some fish from the Lake Ohrid, which is quite nice. And then we go to a hotel, which is located right next to the lake. So there you have a chance to actually have a dip in the lake, which is quite special. And the scenery around you is just breathtaking. So it was definitely one of my highlights because I always wanted to go there. And once I was there, it was just above my expectation. So the other thing which is really interesting in Albania is all the archaeological site. I didn't expect that at all, but you've got, for example, we go to Butrind, which is one of the biggest archaeological sites in the Balkans. So you've got some amazing, amazing places to visit and see, and we actually go there. We're having local guide who take us through the whole site because it was actually some part of Albania were very important site during the Roman and the Greek time. So we do like different sites. So for example, this is a picture of Apollina that we visit on the way to Tirana. And it's very interesting because it's just been discovered basically. So I think there's only 10% of the site who actually been digged out. So you actually go through the site with an archaeological guide to explain to you how they're researching and how they're actually discovering more and more every day. And then we also go to Bertrin, which is one of the biggest one, and you see some really well preserved and amazing things. So yeah, this is quite very interesting, and it's something I didn't really expect when I went to Albania. So one more of my other highlight, this is the other picture. We actually go to a local family, and we have lunch there, or sometimes it's dinner too. And it was just amazing to be like, you really go to a house of a local family, you meet them, and basically the son, the daughter, they do the service, and the mom is cooking in the kitchen, and it was just amazing, and the food was just breathtaking. I think that was one of the highlights for many people in my group. And you also see the property, and you go see how they make their own wine, how they make their honey. So that was quite special. This is the famous Ottoman Bridge. This is one of my favorite picture. The bridge is located in the mountainside and by the Vjosa River. And we basically go there. And next to it, you have thermal pools where you can go and swim. And it's really beautiful. And the thing with the Vjosa River is actually the last wild flowing river in Europe. So basically it's got nothing who stops the river. It's just like, it's just wild, and the color is just green, blue. It's just very beautiful. So the mountainside is just breathtaking, and it's still so, it's really unvisited because most people go to the coast, but we go to the mountainside as well, and it's just some peacefulness to it, and it's just very beautiful. We also, what's interesting on this tour, so we go see a lot, we see a lot of the churches and the mosque, because what's interesting about Albania is that during the communist time, you couldn't, religion was forbidden. So basically, the Catholic and the Muslim, the Jewish, they all basically came together and help each other to just be able to practice their religion. So actually in the country, all the religion just live together. So you would have the mosque next to the church, and everyone would just like come together, and it's actually quite amazing to see. So those churches and the mosque we visited are pretty breathtaking. And what's great in the tour is that we go to really small villages, and you can see Denise here. We go like to the villagers, and then they give us the key of the local church, and then we go there, and it's actually so, yeah, so very beautiful and magical. And it's a good way also to support the local community, because we usually give them like a donation, and the donation goes to the whole village for us to visit their churches. So yeah, that was quite special. Another thing I love about Albania is the food. So for me, the food was just amazing because everything is so fresh. Like if you eat the tomato, like the capsicum of the salad, you could just eat it by itself, and it's got so much flavor that I could eat it every day, basically. So you've got like some very nice seafood, some veggie, a lot. If you go more in the mountains, you've got loads of grilled lamb, grilled pork, and you also have, so basically it's a mix, it's a Mediterranean mix. So you've got a lot of things from Greece, but also from like Italy, because Italy is quite close as well. So you've got like very a mix of different food, but it's just fresh and breathtaking. And then another thing is the Albanian raki. So on this tour, you have the chance to go try more than one time the Albanian raki, and you've got so many different flavor, but it's actually quite strong. So you need to be careful. And it's actually a very good country for if you're vegetarian, if you're vegan. So it really caters for everyone. So that was great, because this is another picture. We would go to a village to have lunch. So that was really lovely. And usually this was all vegetarian, basically. But like I said, the veggies, they all grow everything on the farm, and everything is so tasteful that you don't even need meat. So yeah. Um, so yeah, so that was like really, really an experience for me that I really enjoyed, is all those fresh produce and meeting the community and trying their food basically. The accommodation in Albania. So the hotel we're using, so in Albania, you don't really have anything super fancy, but all the accommodation are actually quite lovely. They're simple, they're clean. Usually they have beautiful view with a balcony. And the thing is like they're super centrally located. So everywhere we go is really for the location as well. So you're always in the city center, or like was a hotel in the lake or hit you just right by the lake. And we also work a lot with small family hotel. So this is another thing that we're trying to really support the local community and work. We've been working with some of the hotel for more than 20 years, and they love having Explore group. So yeah, this is quite special. So nothing fancy, but very comfortable and clean and perfectly located. So yeah, so this is a highlights of Albania. So this is a 11-day tour in Albania. So this is quite a full-paced trip. So you're gonna see a lot in a short time, but every day is gonna be like something new, something different and breathtaking. And I can assure you, you're gonna love it. So the best time to travel in Albania is actually April to October. Just saying that July, August, it can be quite hot. So I was there in July and it was quite hot. So it was nice to actually have all the stop where we could have a chance to swim. But Albania is actually a destination that's got a very mild Mediterranean climate, so you can really go all year round. Um, and we have also, I saw someone in the chat who's been on our cycling Albania tour. So we also have that amazing cycling tour in Albania. We also have a hiking tour who goes in the Albanian Alps. We have a new tour coming soon who's going to hike the coast of Albania. So that's an exciting one. And we also have another tour goes North Macedonia, Kosovo, we do Albania. So we've got really different tours for everyone taste. So yeah, so thank you for listening to me, and I hope you're gonna want to go to Albania. No, so I'm gonna hand it over to Claire, who's gonna present Croatia for you.
Oh, thanks, Manon. You've just put Albania at the top of my wish list now. It looks absolutely fabulous. But today I'm going to take you to one of the neighbouring countries, which is Croatia. And while we have several trips in Croatia, I'm going to concentrate on cycling the Dalmatian coast. So grab your bike and we'll pedal through Croatia. So our Cycle the Dalmatian Coast trip, we are starting in Split, the beautiful historic city of Split, and we're going to do a little bit of island hopping across to Var and Korčula, and we're going to end in Dubrovnik. And while this is predominantly a cycling trip, you are going to be outdoors and pedaling for the majority of the time that we're traveling. It's also an island hopping trip as well, incredibly scenic. So yeah, you're not just cycling the whole time. And there's also lots of swimming opportunities as well. So as well as pedaling, you also have some beautiful crystal clear water to swim in as well. So we are starting in Split, and this picture is actually the terrace outside of the breakfast room of our starting point hotel. And we start with one night in Split. So as you can see, we're in a beautiful location overlooking the bay. You can literally walk out of the door and go swimming if you wish to. It was a really, really nice place to start the trip. It's about 10 kilometers outside of the city of Split, but there's actually a really good bus service right outside. So if you do want to arrive perhaps a day or two early, you could very much do so. We are going to have a guided tour of Split the following day on day 2, but you can also take a bus into Trogir as well. So if you do want to have an extra day or two, there's plenty of things that you could do. But this is our group, or the majority of our group, I'm taking the picture, having our briefing on the rooftop with our fabulous tour leader, Jakob. And you can see the map on the ground there. So this is where we have an introduction to the tour. We have a look at the map to see where we're going to be going for the next 8 days. And downstairs, our support vehicle is there with all of our bikes. And this is the point where we're all allocated our bikes, and any last minute adjustments can be done as well. So if you want to bring along your own pedals or your own saddle, you can do that, and we'll make sure that everything is as expected before we then have a nice leisurely pedal into Split itself to start the trip. So it's on our bikes and not too far, like I said, a very leisurely first day ride into the city of Split. So Split is the second largest city of Croatia. It was actually founded as a Greek colony, first of all, but it quickly became the site of the Romans, basically. And the pictures that you're looking at here is the palace of Diocletian. So the Roman Emperor Diocletian built a palace here, and the whole of Split centers around the fabulous Roman ruins of this palace. And like I said, we have a guided tour this day, like a half-day guided tour. So we meet a local guide who walks us through the city and especially through the remains of this huge, huge palace complex, and gives us a great introduction to not only the country, but also the history of Croatia as well. Now, when we finish our guided tour, we have a little bit of free time. So we can get lunch or just have a little look around the rest of the city. There's a beautiful promenade along the waterfront and around the marina. But from here in the afternoon, we're going to be taking our first ferry across to the island of Hvar. So Hvar Island is probably one of the most popular islands to visit, and you can see basically why that is. It's an incredibly scenic island. It's covered in vineyards. Yes, there's some really, really good wine in Croatia and some opportunities to try it. There's lavender fields, there's olive groves, and of course, the beautiful, beautiful coast. And whenever you look across the coast of wherever you are along this part of the Adriatic, you're just going to see all of those islands dotted in the distance. It's just beautiful. But we have 2 nights on Hvar. And when we arrive in Hvar, first of all, we cycle down to a place called Jelsa. And Jelsa is going to be our base for the next 2 nights. Now, the good thing about being on a bike is that bicycles can go places vehicles can't. So we do get to cycle through rural countryside. We hug the coastline a lot of the time and basically just get that lovely calm atmosphere that comes with cycling through countryside, essentially, rather than sitting on a vehicle, which has its purpose, but I just like to be on a bike. So we spend the night in Jelsa, and then the following day, we have our full day of cycling on Hvar. And the picture on the left here is actually part of Hvar town, so the capital, if you like, of the island. And we do get the opportunity to visit there, have some free time. There's a beautiful bay around the corner where you can go swimming if you wish to, and just basically have a look around the most populated part of the island. And this day, it should be mentioned, is one of the hills of the trip. So we grade the cycling as moderate, but we have paced the trip in a way that you have a leisurely day, like cycling into Split yesterday, but we also have some more challenging days. And day 3 of the trip is a long hill, but it's rewarded again at the top of a Hvar island with a beautiful cafe, fabulous scenery, and of course from there, it's all downhill. So we have our 2 nights on Hvar. And then on day 4, we're going to hop on another ferry and we're going to go over to Korčula. Now, Korčula Island was my highlight, I have to say. Everywhere I went to in Croatia was beautiful, but Korčula Island definitely has my heart. So when we arrive from the ferry onto Korčula, we arrive into Korčula town. So this is a picture of Korčula town from above, and also some of the little side streets of Korčula town, which is this beautiful Venetian city. So you've got this labyrinth of little alleyways with little pretty cafes, a fort, of course, everything centers around a fort. But it's just a really, really nice place to go for a wander. And we have some free time there. It's an absolute photographer's dream. Every corner you turn around, you're taking pictures because it's just absolutely beautiful. But after some free time and possibly some lunch, we get back on our bikes and we start to explore Korčula Island. So this picture on the left is still Korčula town. And as we were pedaling away, you couldn't help but turn back and just look at how pretty the place was. And not only that, but if you notice that how clear the water is, the Adriatic is just pristine. It's the clearest water I think I've seen anywhere in Europe, and just lends itself perfectly to swimming opportunities, of course. The picture on the right is where we're pedaling to today. Now, this is a little fishing village and it's called Rakčiška. And Rakčiška, like I said, small fishing village, but I think this just gives you an example of some of the places we cycle to or through. And again, because we're on bikes, we have the opportunity to just stop whenever we like to. So we stopped in Rakčiška at a lovely little coffee shop for coffee and ice cream. I have to say, there was a lot of ice cream consumed on this trip. But after here and a well-deserved break, we continue to Lombarda on the west of the island. And this is where we're going to base ourselves for the 2 nights that we're on Korčula. So the following day is our full day of cycling on Korčula Island. And yes, there's another hill. So you might have guessed so far, we have a leisurely day, then we have a bit of a hill, and then we have a leisurely day, and then another little bit of a hill. But that is the nature of Croatia. It's undulating would be the word to use. So we have a full day cycling again through stunning scenery and again vineyards, and we do have an opportunity for a wine tasting after cycling, of course, when we don't have to pedal any further. But this island is particularly famous for a type of wine called gruk. So we did have to sample some gruk while we were on Korčula. And then the following day, we're going to take another ferry and we're going to head over to the mainland again, and of course, towards Dubrovnik. So when we arrive onto the mainland, we actually arrive onto the tip of a peninsula. So we can again get back on our bikes again straight away, and we cycle again along the beautiful peninsula, sea on one side, lovely small little places that we cycle through, village life, very rural, again, very, very pretty. And we stop and have a nice lunch somewhere. And then we actually join our vehicle again to drive into Dubrovnik city, because as you can imagine, the roads in and out of the city are quite, populated with traffic, quite busy roads. So that's probably the longest drive we have, maybe an hour or two, actually driving into the city of Dubrovnik. So the picture here is a view over the old city of Dubrovnik, and we do actually stop at a point on the way where you can just climb a few steps and instantly get this amazing view over the old city of Dubrovnik, out across the bay, out across the Adriatic, and again, see all of the little islands dotted in the distance. Just behind this picture and up the hill is Mount Sard, and Mount Sard is where there's an imperial fort made famous from the siege of Dubrovnik. But yeah, the city is incredibly historic. And again, we don't stay in the city centre. It's very, very busy in the city centre sometimes. So what we do is we stay in a place called Lapad Bay, which is probably about a 15-20 minute drive out of the city, well connected with a bus service, which I'll talk about in a second. But yeah, we stay in Lapad Bay in a property that is directly on the water. So again, swimming opportunities, you can literally pop out of the door, a few steps takes you onto the beach, and you can swim directly from the hotel. So our penultimate day, we have a morning cycle further south to the Konavli Valley. And this is again through vineyards, and you can see the beautiful cypress trees in the distance. So again, a final cycle around the area. It's always best being on 2 wheels, I think. So yeah, again, lovely overview of the area. But you have a free afternoon as well. So if you do want to go into the old city, as I mentioned about the public bus route, directly outside of our hotel is a bus stop, and a 20-minute bus ride takes you into the old city of Dubrovnik. So you can, again, explore all the little streets, marble, stone cathedrals, little alleyways. It's just so beautiful. And again, centered around fortified walls or inside fortified walls. And you can also take the cable car if you so wish up to Mount Sard as well, up to the Imperial Fort, and take views over the city as well. Again, Dubrovnik is a place where you might want to have extra days at the end, and that's something that can be requested if you do want to have extra nights at the end of the trip. But I just want to talk about the cycling element of this specific trip, because in my role at Explore, the one question I get asked more than anything else about cycling trips is, how difficult is the cycling? And a lot of people think that, you know, am I going to be the person at the back? Am I going to be holding the group up? You know, what is a moderate grading of cycling? And it's a very, very valid question. And it is hard to pitch that word moderate cycling to everybody, because everyone will have their own opinion of how difficult it is. But basically, you're not going to be that person at the back. So the way our cycling trips are set up, when we're cycling, we have our fabulous leader up front that is showing us the way. And even though, and you'll see in our trip notes that cycling distances are portrayed in the trip notes, as well as elevations in the day-to-day itinerary, it's not just get on your bike and cycle for 30 kilometers or 40 kilometers or 50 kilometers or whatever it is. It's broken up. So we're going to be stopping along the way. We're going to be doing things along the way. And at the end of the day, it's a holiday as well as a cycling trip. And we put these trips together for us normal human beings. So cycling enthusiasts, those that like to be on two wheels and pedal in beautiful places and be outdoors. We're not aiming at cycling pros that are just, you know, go, go, go on your bike all day. So it is basically for everyone. E-bikes are available for most of our cycling trips. They are in short supply, so they do have to be requested at the time of booking, but they are possible in pretty much most of the places we go to. So this was our group when we were there, again, overlooking the sea, with Jakob there in his fabulous orange outfit. And our group was really, really mixed again, which is standard to most of our Explore trips. A lot of these people, actually, you can see a couple of people wearing Explore t-shirts, and that's because they've been on several cycling trips before. I don't know where they got the t-shirts from, but it was a few years ago. And yeah, some of these people had done many, many cycling trips. For a few of these people, it was their first cycling trip with Explore. For a couple of people, it was their first Explore trip ever. Very, very like-minded people. It's quite a social trip. So, you know, you do tend to find that people choose to spend time together outside of the itinerary as well. It was just a lovely group of mixed people from around the world having a great time cycling through Croatia. Our accommodation. Now, we have 7 nights of accommodation on this 8-day trip. We grade 5 nights as comfortable hotels, and we grade 2 nights as simple hotel. Now, I just wanted to point out that the simple hotel is actually the 2 pictures on the left, top and bottom. So this is when we're on VAR and our place that we stay in Jelsa. Now, we've basically graded this one accommodation as simple purely because the accommodation it looks like the deco is a little bit dated, and that is the only reason why we've graded it as simple. But as you can see, the pool in the top picture left, that's actually from the breakfast room. It overlooks the bay. The location is fabulous. It's walking distance down to a beautiful bay with restaurants and cafes and shops, etc. And bottom left, I think you can just see through the doors there, the balcony, which also looks over the bay. So the location is amazing. The room may be simple, but it's just a decor thing rather than anything else. But yeah, the 4 properties that we stayed at all had great plus points for me. Swimming opportunities everywhere, whether it be a pool in 2 of our properties, or indeed, as you can see on the top right there, direct access to the beach, and you can just go and swim in the beautiful waters of the Adriatic. But that is our whistle-stop pedal through the Dalmatian coast of Croatia. So the trip, like I said, is 8 days, 7 nights. The best time to travel is April to October, but like nearby Albania, I just want to point out that the summer months, July and August, can be hot, although when you're outside on your bike and pedaling, you do, of course, get that breeze, so it's actually quite manageable. But that is Croatia, and from Croatia, we're going to join James, and he's going to take us on a tour of Turkey.
Thanks, Claire, and thank you everyone for joining us. I'm going to talk you through over the next 15 minutes or so about one of our trips in Turkey. And I was lucky enough to go there in November. I didn't, like Manon, I didn't join a trip. I joined one of our most experienced leaders, and I did a whistle stop route of a similar ilk to the one that you're going to see on the next slide. So, God, so much to talk about on this slide. The map doesn't do Turkey any justice. First thing to say is this is a 15-day trip. So it's ever so slightly further south from the two countries that we've just been talking about. It's where the Balkan Peninsula ends and then becomes Asia, in effect. It's where Europe ends and Asia begins. So strategically, Turkey is has always occupied a really important time, and today's the same thing. And for that reason, it's had the influence of many, many different cultures and civilizations over the years. And I think that layering of different influences of culture, food, language, dress, customs makes it a really, really varied and interesting destination. The other thing to say is the scenery is spectacular. It's quite a mountainous country with different mountain chains across its vast range. You've got the Black Sea in the north, you've got the Mediterranean in the south. So, and different climates come with those different places. This is zoomed in on Western Turkey. So we're doing on this 2-week trip the highlights of Western Turkey, and there's a whole different side to the country that you can see to the east as well. And so it's very beautiful. The people are very proud and friendly and welcoming, and add to the experience. So this trip, to take you through it quickly, starts and ends in Istanbul, one of the great cities of the world. I think you could easily spend several more days there. So if you wanted to top or tail your trip with extra nights, that's always possible. Just ask at time of booking. And then we start our drive. So we first of all go to the capital, which is Ankara, and we're up on the Anatolian Plateau. We visit an outstanding, probably the best museum there that talks about all the ancient cultures that I mentioned, and then we kick on and we move down to the otherworldly scenery of Cappadocia, which was the intro slide. You got a flavour of the dramatic and unique scenery of Cappadocia before we head on south to meet the Mediterranean in Anatolia. En route, we stop at Konya and learn all about the whirling dervishes and that whole Mevlana sect, which is fascinating. And then we hit what's called the turquoise coast, which is where the mountains come down dramatically, meet the sea, and you've got those beautiful crystalline waters that we've just seen on the other two presentations. It's a similar scenery here. So from Antalya, we drive on the Corniche Road along the turquoise coast on a beautiful drive, firstly to Kash. That's pretty much the halfway point of the trip. We've got a couple of nights in Kash and one free day. And then we start making our way up towards and back to Istanbul via more of the turquoise coast before heading inland from the charming river town of Dalyan to Pamukkale, which is where you've got the travertine terraces, really dramatic natural scenery. And then we go to Selçuk, one of the principal Greco-Roman sites, and then bring it home for stopping at Çanakkale, which is a little bit off the tourist beaten trail. It's like a normal coastal fishing town, big city, 1 million people, is really interesting. And then via Gallipoli, we come back to Istanbul. And it is, we'll touch on this on the last slide, but it is quite a busy itinerary. We like to get the most out of the time. And so the days are quite filled, but there is that day at the halfway point, the free day in Kash, and the feedback you can see online yourself if you want. People generally enjoy the trip. Okay, so moving on to some of the pictures. Some of these I took last November. I didn't take this one, but it's one of many you can choose. It's an otherworldly scenery. There's a volcanic ancient geological story behind it, but you get these pinnacles, which are sometimes called hoodoos, or there's different geological terms for them. And what happened over in a certain period of time, Christianity had to hide from persecution from the Romans. And in this corner of Turkey, actually, Christianity has an ancient history, and they dug down below the surface to have hidden cities, and also every place above the surface that they could carve a church into or a dwelling when it became safer. That's what you see as you walk through different valleys. Each valley's really different scenery, and it's just really interesting because these no longer largely actually lived in, but were lived in over hundreds and hundreds of years ago. And there's also the option to do a early morning balloon trip to see the magnificent scenery from the sky. So moving on from Cappadocia, cached photos really don't do it justice. You've got to imagine, you can see the beautiful turquoise sea. This is the place where we spend those 2 nights. It's a little fishing village that is fortunately a little bit too far from the airport hubs, which means it hasn't been ruined by mass tourism. So it's still got an authentic feel to it. And going back to the photo, if you look to the right-hand side and just imagine that is actually quite steep, the mountains rising up. And as you go further right, they go up and up and up to 3,000 meters. So that's the Taurus Mountains coming down to meet Cache at the sea, and the cobblestone traditional architecture on the bottom left. And then in the bottom right, you can either just have the day at leisure, or sometimes people club together and join in a boat trip on a traditional gullet to explore the beautiful scenery and have a swim and a beautiful barbecue lunch. So moving on from Cache to talk about the ancient civilizations a little bit. This tour features a lot of different aspects of modern Turkey as well as ancient Turkey, and we cherry pick some of the very best sites. The most famous, you might have seen the photo on the right hand side, is that is the library at Ephesus, which is one of the best preserved buildings in that magnificent site, and it is undoubtedly a highlight of the country. On the left-hand side is a less known site, about a 2-hour drive from Ephesus, which gets very busy with tourism for obvious reasons. But the bonus of having so many sites in Turkey that you're almost tripping over them is that when you go to a place like Aphrodisias, there's very few tourists. So that's what really struck me, is that we almost had Aphrodisias to ourselves, and the difference of each of the sites is different in a different way. But Aphrodisias was renowned for the quality of its sculpture work across the whole of that part of the ancient world at that time. And that's just one of the photos that I took that gives you an idea of the quality that you can see also in a museum on the site, which protects the most elaborate sculptures from the site in the form of a museum that is really, really beautiful and fascinating. So moving on and talking a little bit more about a couple of other ancient sites. Pergamon, that's where parchment paper originated from, is a site that we visit en route back up towards Çanakkale, on the route back to Istanbul, and that's a mountaintop ancient city, Greco-Roman city, and that's just what, so you've got all the scenery of the surrounding mountains, and that is the most steeply raked amphitheatre in the Greco-Roman world. And when you're standing there, it's really quite dramatic with the backdrop, and you can imagine yourself a couple of thousand years ago looking at this at some local entertainment. On the right hand side is the site of Hierapolis, which is above Pamukkale, which we'll come on to, the Travertine Terraces, and that's another theatre, and you can't see it, but over the top of it, it's the sitting with a commanding view. They always built their amphitheatres with a view, and some of them more spectacular than others, but you got a commanding view over the valley there. And so moving on from Hierapolis, so that is, if you like, to the left. So the Romans built a lot of settlements where there were natural spring water spas. So this is hot water bubbling out of the ground. The Romans built their city above these terraces, but these terraces were already there because they took thousands of years to form naturally from little mineral deposits that are in the water. As it cascades its way down the mountain, it leaves these deposits, and over time it's built up this fantastic scenery that's one of the highlights of Turkey. So cotton candy, it means cotton candy castle, Pamukkale. And we move on from Pamukkale. So crossing the Dardanelles is on a couple of occasions we cross from east to west on this trip. So when we cross up to the Gallipoli Peninsula, we're effectively officially leaving Asia and entering into Europe and the Mediterranean still, but that is still part of modern day Turkey. And we make a stop en route back to Istanbul to visit some of the sites. So the Gallipoli campaign was the ill-fated Allied campaign in 1915 that lasted around about a year of very fierce fighting between different troops, the British, the Australians and the New Zealanders. There are a lot of Australians and New Zealanders there, along with other troops from the Allied side with the British. And it was an ill-fated campaign, and lots of people sadly died on both sides. And we visit a few of the sites there. So Lone Pine Cemetery on the bottom right corner is a poignant place to reflect on the loss, and you can see also some of the places where the trenches were built and some of the main battles happened and the landings on the beaches. So moving on from Gallipoli, paying our respects and remembering the recent past, we get to the capital. I could do a 20-minute presentation just on Istanbul. There are so many highlights. One of the highlights is the Blue Mosque, which you can see from the inside and the outside, and it's one of the places that we visit on our city tour. So we've got some free time, so you can go and visit some of the highlights, and we've also got a walking tour that takes in and includes the Blue Mosque. From the inside, you can see how it's got its name from the beautiful each tile individually hand painted and made over 500 years ago, and it has this beautiful blue hue. So very pretty and very breathtaking and impressive to visit. Moving on from the mosque to my stomach, everybody's stomach. I think one of the best things to travel is food, and Turkish food was delicious. It's largely locally sourced, fresh regional produce is normally what's involved as the ingredients. It's really varied, going back to all those different peoples that have lived over the ages. I think that's influenced, and the Turkish are very rightly proud of their cuisine. On the right-hand side, that is a random photo of one of the breakfasts I had. Normally the breakfasts are on a buffet table and you help yourself, but in this case it was not many guests staying, so we just had it to the table, and you can see there some cooked vegetable dishes, some raw salad, delicious tomatoes, really good bread, olives, honey, eggs to cook, and tahini, and you get an idea of a typical breakfast. On the left-hand side, top left, is a ayran, which is a fermented milk drink that I got into and was having most days. Also to the right of that, this doesn't sound very appetizing, but it's a fermented turnip juice, which sounds awful. It is an acquired taste. I loved it. It's apparently very good for you. And it's just a different taste. And I think it's a good thing when you travel to try different things. So I got hooked on the fermented turnip juice, and then south of that, you've got middle shot, the long boat-shaped pide is a local style of pizza that they have across Turkey. Had some meat with some bulgur wheat and some vegetables on the left of that, and then a really beautifully delicious and sweet dessert at the bottom. So it's not just baklava, you've got lots of different food types. Really good, healthy if you want it, and good for vegetarians and vegans as well. Definitely a highlight. Moving on to the hotels. That's 3 photos from our hotel in Istanbul, and it gives you a flavor of really what they're like throughout the trip. There's one place in Cappadocia where we stay in a slightly nicer category, a 4-star hotel, a little bit more comfort, but everywhere else is absolutely perfectly comfortable, clean, well located centrally. and of a 3-star standard. The room size in Istanbul, all hotels have smaller room sizes just because of the pressure on space in a really big city. And the bottom left is a typical, that's the breakfast at the hotel in Istanbul. So you can see there lots of greenery, salad, and variety. So they are the hotels. They're generally locally run, and they are generally locally staffed by families as well. So there's a nice warm welcome, and the money goes directly into the community. If you wanted, so moving on to the wrap up, this is one of many trips that we run in Turkey. So you've got, if you just look at our website, there's lots of different trips. There's 1-week trips. This was a 2-week trip that we were talking about. There's walking, cycling, family adventures, you name it. And they're all pretty much, apart from our winter Turkey trip, run from March through to November. And it does get hot, just like with the other 2 presentations. It gets hot in July and August, which some people like, some people struggle with. So avoid if you don't like the heat. And the summary of the hotels I just talked about. And yeah, go online and see what our clients think about this trip as well. And we've got one brand new upgraded as the last thing to add, where we stay in 4-star hotels and a little bit more comfort, and do a route from Antalya up to Istanbul. Thank you. So I'm going to hand it back over to Ella.
Thank you so much, Manon, Claire, and James. That was fabulous. I don't know about anyone else, they looked incredible. The foods made me hungry, and I'm really curious about turnip juice. I think it was turnip juice. Wild. Amazing. Well, if you're anything like myself and can't wait to start planning your next trip, we'd love to chat to you more about our tours. So please get in touch with us or your preferred travel agent anytime. So we'll know New Zealand, Australia, it's a little bit of a trek to get to Europe sometimes. So if you're coming all the way to Europe and have some additional time, we think extending and combining tours is sometimes a really good option to make the most of your time. So to help you guys out, we've made a list of our favorite European tour combinations. So as you can see here, these are a couple of the tours that can be combined or date matched, and we've got exciting new combinations coming next year as well. So, still to come. During the presentations, there's been a bunch of questions coming in which the team have been answering as we go. We've saved some of the questions to talk about about in a moment, and one of you will also be selected as at random to win our prize draw. But right now, let's welcome back Manon, Claire, and James and ask to answer some of those questions you've been asking us. So, from everyone, this is a question for everyone. What's your average or max size of your groups?
I can take this if you want. So it's with the family adventures, it's 20. And with everything else we do, it's never more than 16. And the average is sits around about 11 or 12 people in each group.
Amazing, thank you. Manon, what was your favorite meal and where was it?
Oh, this is very hard to
Food questions are always hard.
Yeah. That was probably in the Logar National Park when they did a very traditional Albanian dinner, and we were there on Sunday, and loads of actually Albanian family went there to eat too, and there was a lot of amazing roasted meat with like veggies, and then you had some barekas also, which are traditional Albanian type of pie, quite different than Turkish one, and every village got their own one. So yeah, I think that was kind of that Albanian roast style in the Yoga National Park.
Amazing. I've got a question for Claire. Claire, someone's asked, I'd love to do a cycling holiday, but are your cycling trips suitable for solo travelers?
Absolutely. So without a doubt, I mean, I am a solo traveler. Whenever I do these trips myself, I am a solo traveler. I think Explore as a whole, I'd say probably close to 60% of our travelers are solo travelers now. But you find it especially on the more active trips, so cycling trips and walking trips, we do get a lot of solo travelers. My group, we had, gosh, I'd say half of our group were solo travelers. So yes, absolutely is the answer.
Fabulous. Question for James. How much free time do we get on a full-on pace tour?
Probably reckon on starting the day between 8 and 9 each morning, and then rocking into the hotel around about 5 or 6, I would say, is probably a good idea. There are breaks. That's not full on absolutely every minute. There was stop to have lunch, and some of that might be journey time where you're just really looking out the window, have a snooze after lunch, or yeah, so or visiting a site. So that gives you an idea. Roughly each day will be quite filled, and then you'll have an hour or so, shower, get fresh, and get ready to go out for dinner.
Amazing, absolutely. Cool, thank you, James. Cool, we'll move on to our offers. I think there's a slide for that one. Yes, so we are currently running our Europe Early Bird sale. So if you are planning a Europe adventure for 2025, now is the best time to check us out and plan your next holiday. So you have until 26th of September, and the 3 tours that we presented today will be part of this sale. And now, last special thing is our prize draw. So one lucky winner will win a lovely box of Turkish delicacies to enjoy with a cup of tea or coffee. So we've selected one of you at random, and our prize winner is Marie Rosewarne. So congratulations, Marie. We'll be in touch by email and get your prize all sorted for you. Well, if that is all, thanks for everyone for joining us. We'll look out for that email in the next few days, which will give you a recording and a short feedback survey. But I hope everyone enjoyed themselves and have a lovely night.